Good morning, friends. Wolfie here. Hopefully, I get this uploaded in time for 11 o'clock. So I'll try to remember. Coming up at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern today, I'm going to be joining forces with Winters again. And I think he's got a friend of his coming as well. So we're going to try at least a 3-player bout of barotrauma again. That was a blast last weekend, and we are down for another run at it. So that is going to be coming up here today. And I don't know how long they will want to play, and it's a multiplayer game. There might be single player, I guess. There are bots, but it's only, I don't know, it seems more fun with multiplayer. So if they give up the ghost early enough, I'll switch back over to Fire Emblem 3 Houses, as I'm having a blast with that. I also got the Terraria Extra Life 2020 footage uploaded, and I'll be publishing those hopefully by 11 o'clock. I'm just running to go get groceries today. This morning. Shouldn't take too long. Got the house cleaned yesterday. It's so exciting. It's all nice. Now I got to do laundry, and that is the only remaining chore. But yeah, good times. So look forward to that. Oh, you bloody light monster. So, what to talk about? Yeah. So, okay, I downloaded a complete archive of. I legally acquired a full archive of all of the NBC Dateline To Catch a Predator series. And as I understand now why that's a meme. Why don't you have a seat over here? That shit is really compelling to watch. It's crazy. It sounds so cheesy, but it actually makes for some pretty compelling television. And I know that Chris Hansen started. I mean, I think I don't know if they've resumed doing it right now because of the Mandarin Malady, but I know that last year he started a revival of the series, and so they're back at it, nailing kitty diddlers. But it's amazing to watch. In the first couple of seasons, or the first couple specials, they kind of have the element of surprise, where it's something new. No mainstream media had ever taken an interest in this topic to the point where they would start setting up stings. So, guys would walk into the honeypot. No, it's a terrible choice of words, but it works. But yeah, men walked into the honeypot and got busted, and it was a thing. And guys didn't realize that sort of thing was going on, and so they, just cheerfully walked right into it. Towards the end, though, they even talk about it in, like, they start working with cops, and the police, towards the 7th and 8th, I think it was 7 and 8. Anyway, towards the end of the series of reports, or specials they did, the cops actually talk to them, or the investigators talk to the producers on camera and say, yeah, word's getting around. People are figuring out that this is a bait house, and it's made. I think they said this has made Kentucky safer because people have seen the show, and word gets out pretty quick that, hey, they're still doing this shit, so perverts, watch out. But they still show up anyway. That's the incredible part. So, if you've never seen the show, the premise is really straightforward. There's this vigilante group who I can't express my respect for them enough. It's awesome. They're doing what the cops can't be bothered to do, and they. But I'll get to that. So this group they used to sit around and lurk in public online chat rooms, and they would pose as kids, like 13, 14-year-old boys and girls. And they would make that very public. That, hey, I'm a naive young teenager, and it wouldn't take long. They said it would take just a few minutes, and they'd start getting private messages from lots of different men. The curious thing is, at least from what they claim, they never managed to bait a woman into doing anything like this. It was always men. I'm not sure I believe that 100%, although I'll concede the point that when women decide they're going to abuse a child, they tend to do it in public, not in public, they tend to do it in private, in person. Like, they'll groom a potential victim over time and then break them down and get it going that way. And they tend to be clever enough not to leave a paper trail. And dopey men thinking with their dongs are not very good at not leaving a paper trail. It's amazing what people will openly say on the internet expecting that nobody else will ever read it. Right, Nicole? Anyway, yeah, I'm not bitter or anything. But yeah, so they would start sending private messages to these decoys. They think that they're talking to 13, 14-year-old kids, both boys and girls. And the chat would get sexually explicit pretty quickly. And it would quickly turn into, in a lot of cases, I'm sure there were plenty of people who said, you know what, this isn't cool. I'm not going to, we can't keep doing this. This isn't right. You're way too young. I'm out. And, props to them for having the brain power to not do something stupid. Still need to get that brain checked, though. If you're into 13-year-olds, you have some issues. But, unless you're 13, then that's okay. But if you're older and you're going after going after early teens, you got problems. But some of them would stay persistent and carry on talking to to these decoys, and they would start sending like explicit messages, like, "Oh, I'm gonna eat your pussy. I'm gonna finger you. I'm gonna fuck you hard. Blah blah blah," and they would send pictures of their own genitals, because of course they do. And so the decoy, once they started getting that kind of conversation out of them, they would play along. Obviously, the decoys would never send nudes of themselves, because, that would be, either it'd become obvious that, oh, you're not a teenager, or, they're trafficking child porn. No, don't want to do that. So the decoy would just play coy, and they would talk dirty, but, it stayed text only. But they would invite them eventually. It's like, hey, why don't we meet up? My parents are gone this weekend, so why don't you come over and hang out in person, and we'll see, maybe we can fool around together. And so these guys, some of them, they say no, and they wave off. But others, of course, this program wouldn't work if it didn't happen like this. Others would take the bait and go, sure, give me your address and I'll meet you there at such and such o'clock, such and such time on Saturday, and I'll meet you. I'll bring condoms. And a clever trick that they pulled is they would have the decoy ask them to bring something specific, like bring a bottle of Crown Royal, or bring lube, or bring some marijuana, bring me some cookies, or something like that, some trivial thing. And as it turns out, that helps to show, if the guy shows up and he's got those items, it helps the police prove intent, which is pretty helpful in convicting these jerks, these psychopaths. And so these guys would show up, and in the very first special that they did, they would... the pattern is the same throughout the whole thing for every episode they did. The decoy would answer the door or would be kind of away from the door and call out, "Hey, come on in. I'm just changing clothes," or "I'm getting the last of the laundry done." But she would always have some excuse to not be right there in person, ready to say hello and hug and kiss and all that good stuff. Because obviously, they're not 13. They're very obviously adults. And the decoys they got, the actors they got to do this in person, they were pretty cute, but they're not passing for 13. So they want the mark. They want the pervert to have as little warning as possible that it's a trap. So they call them into the house, and they'll come in the front door, and they'll sit at a bar or a table or something, or a kitchen counter, and she'll try to call to him and squeeze a bit of conversation out of him. "Hey, did you bring the lube? Did you bring my cookies?" That sort of thing. And when he says yeah, then Chris Hansen steps out instead of the girl and goes, "Why don't you have a seat over there?" That's his signature line. And as stupid as it sounds, I understand why that's a meme now, because it never stops being funny. Because the dumbfounded look on these guys' faces never ceases to amaze. And so what he'll do, obviously he encourages them to sit. And with very few exceptions, these fools actually sit down like they're told and start talking to him. And he asks them some very basic, very simple questions like, "So what are you doing here? What's the plan for tonight? What were you gonna do? Who are you meeting? Did you know she was only 13? And then most of the time the guy would deny it. "Oh no, I thought she was 19. And at that point Hansen busts out a chat log, printed out on paper with the good bits highlighted, and he'll start reading chats to him like, "You typed this." Does it not know I'm here? Whatever. They'll figure it out. He'll start reading chat messages to them from their own chat logs, and some guys just keep making excuses and they keep denying everything. Like, no, I had no intention of doing anything for real. It was all fake. It was just tough talk, and like, "Oh, I was just playing. I wouldn't really do anything. Blah 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 blah." And it's obvious bullshit, and you could tell that they knew it was bullshit, because it was. They were there to get laid. And so those conversations were always awkward and entertaining. And then he would toss out his other signature line, because inside the house they have a bunch of hidden cameras, and so the guy walks in and he doesn't see any indication that it's a trap. He just knows he's been invited into the house by a pretty young girl. And so when Chris Hansen comes out and starts talking to them, at first he doesn't identify himself. He doesn't bring out cameras or anything. And he doesn't say who he is, so he lets these guys assume the worst. That either that's her dad, or he's a cop. And maybe that's what convinces most of them to stay and try to talk their way out of it. But when he thinks he's gotten as much as he can out of the guy, he'll say, "I'm Chris Hansen with NBC Dateline, and we're doing a report. We're doing an investigation on child predators." And then the cameras come up. Then a guy comes out with a boom mic. A couple cameras come out. And they make a very conspicuous appearance with cameras that are, of course, rolling. And at that point, the freakouts are great. Some of them will just calmly stand up and walk out the door. A few of them have gotten up and tried to, this rabbi tried to stand up and hide cover the camera lens. And he looked like he was going to get violent because, he's a fucking clergyman and works with youth. So that's going to put a crimp in his career. So they react in various different ways. Most of them quit talking once the visible cameras come out. Now, in the first special that they did, that was the end of it. When they walked out the door, they would just turn over the footage they got and the chat logs they got to local police, and they did score some prosecutions out of it. But after that, every one after that, except for that first one, they started working with local police directly, because that first report had proven to police that, oh, okay, these guys aren't actually fucking around. Oh, good, here come the groceries. BRB. Okay, I'm back. Food acquired. Cat food acquired. Now the cats won't eat me. You know that actually happens. That's a thing. If you live alone with a bunch of cats and you keel over dead, well, dogs will do this too, but they're more reluctant to do it. Cats give zero fucks. They'll do this. So yeah, you drop dead, and nobody comes to check on you for however many days or whatever, and whatever cat food you've put out, of course, is going to run out. Well, they're not above eating you. They will dive in. So I will be spared that fate for another. Well, this should last a month. I bought a bunch this time, and I get them. They have regular dry food too, but they start little riots that escalate quickly if I don't give them canned food, or a couple times a day. So anyway, after the first special they did, and it proved to police that, oh, wait a minute, these guys are actually on the level. They're not just screwing around. The police started working with them directly, and so it became a very impressively coordinated operation where they would set up the bait house so that, like, the suspect would get routed around, like, to the back of the house to come in the back door, or a side door, or something like that. Never the front door. And let's go. It depends on the season, but they'd rig it so that the guy would go in a certain door, carefully controlled, and he would get confronted or whatever, and then when he got up to leave, the police would be waiting to arrest him. And so that was how it went for the rest of the productions they did. Guy would, dirty chats online, he'd get lured to a house, girl would invite him in, Chris Hansen would confront them with chat logs and cameras, and then they would make their excuses and then bail, and then the police would nab them. And that's all it was. It was really fun to watch, though. The stories they come up with to try to explain what they're doing are just so ridiculous. The most common one is, oh, I was just here to talk and hang out. And it's like, and it comes up a couple of times, and I think they even say it. Like, even the cops say it. That, if you hadn't said all of these really foul things in chat, or sent pictures of your dick to our decoy, we could actually buy that. Because if you don't express any kind of, naughty thoughts or whatever, it's creepy to go just as a grown person who doesn't, who's never met. It's fucking weird. If you're in your 30s or 40s and you're going to go to some girl's house, like she's 13 years old, and you legit just want to talk and hang out, that's fucking weird. It doesn't matter what your intentions are. Nobody is going to take that well. But it's not strictly illegal. But what is illegal is what all these idiots do. Talk dirty online, send dick pics, get really explicit, and straight up say, when we get together, I'm going to stoink you. I'm gonna lick you clean and curl your toes and blah blah blah. And that's obvious. And if she asks you to bring something specific and you do it, that kind of proves intent. You made good on your word. You are here to do what you said you would do. And so the excuse, oh, I'm just here to talk and hang out, watch movies. No, you're not. And it never works. The cops never buy it. Chris Hansen never buys it. The judge certainly never buys it. And they got a pretty good conviction rate out of this show, and it was hilarious. I think they only ever got 3 acquittals or dropped charges in the entire in the show's entire run. And I mean, they busted hundreds of guys, which is awesome. They did such an amazing job. Some of them, and towards the end, what originally started this rant was that towards the end of the show, like the 7th and 8th specials especially, I mean, they'd been doing this. They'd done it a bunch of times. And so by that point, everybody knew what was going on. Like, everybody knew about Dateline To Catch a Predator. And the funniest part is, it didn't stop these idiots. Some of them even said straight up in their chats that, hey, I'm worried that this could be a setup. You've seen that Dateline show, right, where they catch guys and throw them in jail. And they fucking do it anyway. They still show up. They believe the decoy. It's like, oh no, I'm not a cop. I'm not like that. I just like you. And then they show up anyway. And the funny part is, the way the law works in the places where they were doing this, just showing up was good enough. You didn't have to go in the house. You didn't have to, be confronted by Chris Hansen or anything. If you just drove by the house, that was enough. You showed intent to come to the decoy house to have sex with a minor, and that was it. So there were some people, there were some guys who got suspicious. They would, and the funny part is they weren't quite as careful in the last couple specials about hiding and making the decoy and the trap less suspicious. They were pretty out and open about it. So, and they had just dozens of guys coming. They might have 8 or 9 guys show up in 4 or 5 hours. So it was really busy and crowded. And there were a couple times where a guy that was, coming to meet a minor would pull up to the house or drive past it and notice there were cops there, or they would see a guy getting arrested. And so they would take off. And the best part is, because they'd already broken the law, they had unmarked cars just waiting for that to happen, and they would take off after the guy, pull him over, and arrest his ass. It was amazing. So even just showing up or even driving by wouldn't get you off the hook. That was it. The trap was sprung, and they'd bust you. And towards the end, like the last couple of specials they did, guys were very visibly suspicious, probably because they knew about the show, and so they would they'd be very cautious. They were less likely to just happily march into the house to meet the girl. Some even brought, I think one guy brought like 2 of his friends as lookouts to kind of scout around the house and make sure it was kosher. And all 3 of them got busted. The 2 of them, the lookouts got released because they weren't doing anything illegal. They were just helping some creep be a creep. Unbeknownst to them, at least so they claimed. And there wasn't enough to charge them with anything, so they cut them loose. But the guy that had arranged it all, he got nailed. And then towards the end, they would, as soon as Chris Hansen walked out into the kitchen or whatever to say hi, the guys would just say, "Oh, I know what this is. Oh God, I've ruined my life. Blah 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 blah." And it's just so satisfying to watch these creeps get nailed. Lots of fun. So it was good stuff. It's one of the few times I think that modern journalism actually did a good thing. So yeah, that was fun stuff. Go watch it if you get a chance. It's very entertaining. Also, do not diddle kids. It's just fucked up. Go. There are plenty of hookers out there, even where it's illegal. You can find a 20-something little spinner that looks young, and you throw in an extra 50, and she'll probably role play for you. If you really got to scratch that pervy itch, there are less illegal ways to do it. You know, you're going to get in less trouble getting busted as a John soliciting prostitution than you are trying to hook up with a 13-year-old. Jesus Christ, these people are stupid. And then speaking of stupid, there were a few repeat offenders. Like, this one guy, she actually, the decoy convinced him to walk into the house and strip naked, completely naked. And so he strolls into the kitchen and he plops his naked ass down on that bar stool and waits for her to come out. And Chris Hansen comes out, hands him a towel, like, you want to cover yourself up there a little bit, and then starts. And so they, this was the first season, the first special. And so they embarrass the guy, of course, and then they send him on his way, tell him to get dressed in GTFO. Then the very same fucking day after he got caught, this was before the cops were involved, he tries to hook up with a different decoy. The very next day, he goes to meet her at a McDonald's. And so Chris Hansen confronts him again. It's like, and he goes, I've been doing TV for however many years, and this is the first time I've ever been speechless. And this guy he tries to go, oh, I'm just here getting food. I've got the chat logs, you asshole. It's right here. You said you're meeting some chick here at McDonald's. Well, what's wrong with you? Who picks up a teenage girl at McDonald's? And oh god, it was just great. You got to watch some of that stuff. It is so fun. They should do more stings like that. That's how you catch actually dangerous people. That's a whole other political ball of wax. So I'll wax philosophical on that some other time. Thanks for watching, guys. And this will get posted in probably 20 to 30 minutes from the time this gets posted. I'll be starting a live stream, so you're welcome to stop in and say hi. Catch me and Winters and some other friends playing Barrow Trauma, and then later it'll be more Fire Emblem, Three Houses. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I will catch all of you later. Take care.